So this is lesson 112 with a little bit of maybe 114 thrown in, I think, or my 13, and aiming towards 116. Mrs. Snyder and I decided to combine a couple lessons. So we're going to end up on 116 for this one, and that's the one you're going to do the practice problems for. But I wanted to first remind you all about factors and multiples. So factors, these are my little factor ninjas. They chop up numbers into pairs, so they make the numbers smaller. So if I think about the factors of 12, I think the factor pairs are 1 and 12, 2 and 6, and 3 and 4. Because 1 and 12 are factors of 12, 2 and 6 are factors of the product 12, and 3 and 4 are factors of 12. So factors are either that number or smaller. Multiples are like skip counting. So I say multiple monsters make numbers bigger. So I have a big monster that's a multiple monster and two little factor ninjas that chop things up. So this multiple monster is going to make a number bigger by multiplying it. So the multiples of 6, every time you count, every time you say the next multiple, it's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger by 6. So multiples of 6 are 6, 12, 18, 24, and 30. 6 times 1 is 6, 6 times 2 is 12, 6 times 3 is 18, 6 times 4 is 24, and so on. So the factors all have the same product. They're all 12. And the multiples have one of the same factors, and the products get bigger each time. So that's just a quick review of factors and multiples. I find that so many kids mix those up on the test. So kind of try to get those little factor ninjas chopping things up in your mind and the big multiple monsters making numbers bigger. It's kind of silly. It may or may not work. Okay, so lessons 112 was finding the least common multiple. So now we know what multiples are of 6 and 8. So usually it's a common multiple. It's shared between two numbers. The two numbers I chose were 6 and 8. So I'm going to list the multiples of 6. 6 times 1 is 6. 6 times 2 is 12. So 6, 12, 18, 24, 30, 36. And you could just keep going. And then I'm going to list the multiples of 8. Told you it was easy to confuse. 8, 16, 24, 32, 40. And again, I could keep going, but I don't need to. I'm looking for the least or the smallest number that both lists share. So 6 isn't in this list. 12 it isn't in this list. 8 isn't in that one. So I look at my list. I find, 24 is the smallest multiple that both numbers share, so the LCM, least common multiple. So we're going to use that idea, okay? Put that aside for a minute. I did need you to know this when you get into 6th grade. It's really important. So this is lesson 113, and I'm just going to throw it in there. It doesn't fit anywhere, but what the heck. I'm going to try to change a mixed number into an improper fraction, and it is so easy. To write as an improper fraction, multiply the whole number by the denominator and then add the numerator. That's your new numerator. Keep the denominator the same. So 2 times 4 is 8. Add 1 is 9. So that becomes your new numerator. Your denominator just stays the same. So let's do 3 2/3. I'm going to multiply that, add that. So 3 times 3 is 9, plus 2 is 11, and then I'm going to keep that the same. So 3 2/3 is the same as 11/3. Let's do one more. 4 4/5. 4 times 5 is 20, plus 4 is 24. Keep that the same, 24/5. Easy, easy. Okay, set that aside. A lot of information, huh? And you'll get that again. You'll get it next year. But I just did want you to know that that's how you do it, and it's really easy. Okay, lesson 116 is what we're really doing. So we're comparing and adding fractions. And so that means we have to have the same denominator in order to do that. And we're going to use that least common multiple to find the new fraction. So remember, multiples are skip counting. okay? So example 1 asks you, which is bigger, 3/4 or 7/8? It's hard to compare because I don't have the same denominator. So we're going to change one of the fractions, maybe both, into a new one so both can have the same denominator. So the LCM of 4 and 8, okay? So that's going to be my new denominator. So I'm going to list my multiples of 4, 4, 8, 12, 16. Multiples of 8, oh, I can stop because 8's in that list. So my new denominator for 3/4 is going to be 8. That one's already 8, so I don't have to change that one. So I do my new fraction, sorry, my old fraction times line equals line. Put my box, put my new denominator there. 4 times what is 8? 2. So I always do the same thing to both. So 3/4 equals 6/8. So 6/8 is less than 7/8. So that's my bigger amount. And it's easy to compare when I have same denominator, isn't it? Okay. So example 2. They just want me to add. I can't add fractions that don't have the same denominator, so I have to make one of them the same. You can probably see that 1/2 equals 2/4, right? But let's go ahead and do my procedure here. So I'm going to find my least common multiple of 2 and 4. 2, 4, 6, 8, 4. Oh, I already found it. Okay, so my new denominator is going to be 4. That's already 4. I don't have to change that one. I do have to change this one. So I did my old fraction times box equals line, new denominator. 2 times what equals 4? 2. So I was right. 1/2 does equal 2/4. Okay, so now I'm going to change that one to 2/4 plus 1/4. Well, that's easy. 3/4, isn't it? So much easier, okay? Notice that 8 is also a common multiple, but I'm looking for the least common multiple, the smallest one that they share. So if you don't get the smallest one, you can still get the correct answer and then reduce, but it's best if you can find the least common multiple. Okay. Now I'm really tired of Sharpies bleeding through. Okay, example 3. Now I'm going to subtract. And I have a mixed number, so I like writing mine vertically instead of horizontally. I know I can't subtract like it is because I have different denominators. So I'm going to find my least common multiple of 2 and 6. List my multiples of 2, 2, 4, 6. Multiples of 6, that's all I have to list. Always try to list the biggest one first, because you might not even have to write all that out. But you can. Okay, so I know I'm going to write my fraction times box equals, and then my new denominator over here. 2 times what equals 6? 3. Okay, so let's rewrite my problem here. 3 and 3/6 minus 1 and 1/6. And I like drawing a little dotted line between my whole numbers and my fractions. 3/6 minus 1/6 is 2/6. 3 minus 1 is 2. And I can reduce that, can't I? So 2. Let's divide by 2, since that's my greatest common factor. Those factor ninjas, right? So this equals 2 and 1/3. Okay, so that's my answer. Okay. I'm going fast because this lesson, because we combined so many. Please email me if you get stuck, and we'll talk it through and do a Google Meet or something. Okay, same deal. Different denominators, I have to change them. Ooh, I might have changed both of these. So let's list my LCM. Okay, list my multiples of 3, 3, 6, 9. Multiples of 2, 2, 4, 6. I find that 6 is my least common multiples, the smallest multiple that they share. So that's going to be my new denominator for both fractions. Okay, so I write my little format. I love having a little format. 3 times what equals 6? 2. So 1 times 2 is 2. So 1/3 is equivalent to 2/6. Now I'm going to do this one. 2 times what is 6? 3. 1 times 3, 3. So I have my equivalent fractions that have the same denominator. So I'm going to go back, rewrite this. 2, 6 plus 3, 6 equals 5, 6. And there's my answer. Okay. I think that's it. Give this a try. Do the lesson practice from 116. Take a look at 113. Just make sure you can change a mixed number into an improper fraction. Again, it's pretty easy. And I think you'll be okay. So, good luck with everything. Lesson 116. Gosh, we're almost through, guys. We have 117 and 119, and then we're finished. It's crazy. Okay, bye.